Uh, Good evening. I am Anthony Stewart, the Alumni Engagement Manager for Broward College. Thank you, Broward College students, staff, alumni, friends, supporters, faculty, family, for being here tonight for this really exciting presentation. It's one of its kind. We have three very unique and exemplary alumni who are entrepreneurs and who are going to share their stories with you. The title of our presentation is Three Paths, One Alma Mater. As you may know, Broward College's alumni as a group have been around since 1966. So the alumni network, if you will, started 6 years after Broward Community College and the Junior College of Broward County was founded in 1960. And over 1 million people have come through the doors of Broward College to complete at least one course. So you're part of that huge network, that huge international family of people who are doing exceptional things. And tonight we're shining a light on three of these people. I've got Tiffany Nelson, Camille Pierre-Louis, and Kenzie Saint-Amour. Each of these individuals reached out to the alumni office and said they wanted to be connected. They wanted to share their news. And that's what we always invite our alumni to do. So please, if you would like an alumni spotlight, if you want to share your news, tell us what you're up to, send us a message at alumni@broward.edu or send a message to classnotes@broward.edu. Tonight, for housekeeping, there's going to be a lot of questions because these are three very interesting people, but please hold your questions until we get to the question period, about halfway in. Also, tonight's format is a little bit different. These three entrepreneurs are going to be interviewing each other. And we're going to begin with Tiffany Nelson, founder and CEO of Counselors of Color, who's going to interview Camille Pierre-Louis, who's the founder of the 10K Challenge. Tiffany and Camille, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Nelson. I'm the founder and CEO of a 501c3 nonprofit called Counselors of Color. I'm very familiar with Kenzie, and I'm glad to have this opportunity to be here for Broward College, but I haven't really known too much from Cami, so I'm kind of just jump in. First, I wanted to know, what was your organization about, to just kind of start off?
Yeah, so I should probably clarify, the 10K Challenge is a book that I ended up writing, and I wanted to provide the space and provide a place for other young people, and even people who aren't that young, who don't know about financial literacy that well, to come and feel not judged, and also have very clear steps and clear instructions on how to build their wealth. Essentially, I just want to remove those roadblocks that tend to come with wealth building if you don't come from a wealthy family.
Okay. And then is it like a book more so? Is it a program? Like, how exactly?
Yeah, great question. So we have the books. We have 3 books. We have a combination book. We have an individual book for someone who maybe is not so much like ready to step into financial literacy, but they want to kind of dip their toe in the pool. We have like a guidebook for them. And we have a workbook for people who just want to jump right in. And essentially, the book is creating the foundation for us to make our community. We do have resources like Facebook, Instagram, and all of those things where we, talk with each other. But right now it's kind of small, and we're going to grow it to make it a larger community. Okay,
cool. So are you from Florida as well? Like, what is your background, you'd say?
Yes, I'm Cami from Miami. I'm definitely from Florida.
Awesome. So what exactly made you go into your organization with the financial literacy, making sure that, you said young people, but really anyone, with an emphasis on young people to help? So what made you go into that?
Yeah. After Broward College, I ended up going to Rice University, and it was very expensive to have like books or like do anything with other people. And as a low-income student, I had to get a bunch of random jobs, and I had to learn really quickly how to save my money and understand credit cards and what XYZ means and what are tax implications. And I thought it would be a lot easier for people coming behind me if they had a really clear like word bank that had what all of the words meant when you go to get a credit card. Like, what is AYP? What is dividends? What's an emergency fund? I thought that'd be really, really helpful. Or maybe to see my story, like how I've made mistakes before. Like one time I wanted to make some money real quick, and this family hired me And I found out, unfortunately, that they had fleas because I ended up having a really crazy allergic reaction. So not all money is good money. So lessons like that, I think, are really, really important, especially as we're developing our financial skills. And I just wanted to make it a little more accessible and relatable and more fun.
Awesome. I like that. And that's definitely understandable, especially with what's going on right now in society.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to figure out how to make more money. So I completely get that. And I really think that that's useful. I know you said that from Broward College, you went on to what university was that?
Rice University in Houston, Texas.
Right. Oh, cool. Okay. So did anything at Broward College kind of shape you into making that decision and going on and, starting your business?
Oh, for sure. Broward College has all these amazing resources. I used to be in Model United Nations, and so we used to travel all the time, and that really exposed me to different really nice hotels or different really nice venues that I deserve to be in. We all deserve to be in these nice spaces, and I realized that's going to take some sort of financial backing. And fortunately, Broward College was generous enough to pay for us to have these experiences. But I knew once I left, I would need to figure out a way to make it happen for myself and hopefully other people. So that's kind of how we ended up getting to this path.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that. And then what kind of, everyone knows that being an entrepreneur or anything, an author, an entrepreneur, anything where you decide to kind of go out the norm, it will take a lot and it will take some risks and some obstacles. So what would you say is like one of your biggest obstacles that you had to overcome as an entrepreneur going into this?
Ooh, financial backing and a publisher / like how I wanted my book to be distributed and what the goal was for the book, because my main thing was make the book accessible. But sometimes it doesn't work when you have a publisher that says they want to make, 30%, 40%. It makes it really difficult and it might raise the price. So for my books, I have everyone purchase from my website so I can send it to them directly and give them a really steep discount. If I have them go on, let's say, Amazon's going to sell my book for $30 and only give me 3 cents. And that is not an exaggeration. So I'd much rather have people purchase from me directly. I send it to them. They only have to pay $20 instead of $30, and I make at least $1 instead of the 3 cents.
Right. Trust me. Trust me. I get that. I use Amazon too. Okay, cool. So then, would you say that this was your passion? What is your major, and does this kind of align with your passion and what you want to do?
Yeah, my major was political science and business. And also I loved international relations. So that's where the Model United Nations came in with Broward College. I really loved all that sort of stuff. And I think the finance comes in where you have international relations, you learn about other people, other cultures. And I really want to provide some sort of financial equity for that. And that's where you have that business come in and really merge to make something beautiful.
Okay, awesome. That's cool. And you said your background or your major was political science?
And business.
Okay, I like that. Okay, and then who would you say inspires you the most for your business or in general in life? But if you have two, one for your business and then one for personal life, I guess that also counts.
Oh, that's really tough. Okay, I'm gonna use one is my parents, especially my dad. I watched them work really, really hard when I was a kid, trying to give me the best at everything. They both had multiple jobs at some points, and they sacrificed their time with me so that I could have a really great future. And I found that to be really inspiring. And I want us to keep building on that. So if they sacrifice their time for me to have a good future, I need to make my future great so my kids can have a great future and, keep passing the lessons on, making it a little simpler. Hey, Mr. Aiken. So that's my first one. The second one, oh man, this is a really good question. Part of me wants to say Michelle Obama. Part of me wants to say Oprah. I'm going to just say I'm rooting for everybody Black, Issa Rae kind of thing. All of my strong Black women inspire me. So I'll go with that.
Oh, yes, I love it. The same. I completely understand. So yes, I completely get that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. And with that, since we're talking about books, let's go ahead and transfer over to the founder of Hustle These Books. So many questions.
Yes.
Okay. First, it's nice to meet you. I'm so happy to get to do this with you.
Yes, awesome.
Unlike Tiffany, I haven't got to, find out as much about you, but I did do a little cyber stalking. So let's get into this. First, the name is so cool. How'd you come up with that?
Me and Luna actually came up with it. came probably at the late of 2016. And I was actually in the Phi Theta Kappa office when I first put Hustle Bees books, right? I think it was somewhere in the same lines, right? But you know how sometimes IG or Facebook sends you a reminder post or something that happened like a few years and so on and so forth. And that's when I realized it, right? And then it just, oh man, it just turned into a whole different thing. Especially, it's very funny that you talk about financial literacy, right? Because that was the whole purpose of it, right? Teaching Luna the basics of understanding of one, entrepreneurship and ownership of herself, right? And then and to be creative of her own thoughts, right? And be able to capitalize on that. It goes back into being a pre-law student and going to school, considering going to law school. So, I mean, this country is not considered truly a country, it's really an entity. And in order for all of us as individuals of this society, it's in more favor of us to be entrepreneurs, right? Due to the tax law. So if you're not taking advantage of that, then you're somewhat kind of losing over 30% of your funding, right? So just knowing the simplicity of that, we want to take control of our power and all our hard labor that we put in, because most of us are immigrants, correct? And if we're all come from immigrant families, right, we all strive for the betterment of that, and of course, financial wealth, right? We desire financial freedom. So you can't attain that in this country. I mean, you can be successful, but financial freedom where you own your own time and say, you know what, I'm not going to work today. I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to go to Ireland for a little bit, and I'm going to stop by the pub and go get me a Guinness and so on and so forth. Or I want to go to Haiti, or I want to go to Jamaica. You'll have the actual power to do so, right? So to me, that was the most important thing, especially for raising a young Black girl, is to give her those options, and that all her hard labor will come into play. And then, you know, with Hustle Bees, we presented that business plan. Luna was 8.5 in my pre-law class. We had a very strict teacher who was also an immigrant. Kristen was her name. And basically, with that being said, yeah, the website it's still under construction, but for the most part, there's a lot of moving pieces that's about to take place that we're doing on the back end that you guys truly can't see. So you just get like the gist of it. But yeah, from there, I made a promise to my daughter. And from there, we followed through. So as parents, you know, we are their first superheroes. And if you set the structure right, they'll follow through. And if you fall short of that, then it's a good possibility they'll fall short of it also. So it's really based on the promise that I made. And integrity is very important in our household. And if you start something, you finish it. And that's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. I love that. It sounds like your daughter really, really inspired you to like get this going. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Luna, yes, she definitely did. I owe her. You know, we all owe each other. You know, we need to do better than what our parents have given us. Just like you said, this goes back to what you're writing a financial literacy book, right? Because there's certain things that most of us have not learned naturally.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And yeah. So with that being said, I'm 100% advocate of what you're doing and what you're bringing to the table. You're somebody that represents the brand, right? And that aspect that we honor you for making yourself better, but most importantly, making everyone else around you better, right? Because without that one individual like yourself, imagine how many other people will walk in the blind, you know? So, you know, we're just trying to do our part, get back to the community. And we also at the Learning Center, because we got an HTB Learning Center that you see in the background. Mm-hmm. That's what we've given back to the community. And we'll love to have you as a guest. Sorry about that. That's Maryland. As a guest one day to, like, you know, maybe stop by, showcase your book, and, you know, and talk to the kids here about, you know, financial literacy and so on and so forth, because it's very important. You know, Broward College had given us think what Broward College has given us most importantly is the desire to have a goal, right? But
Yeah.
most importantly, to give us the tools to follow through with that goal, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of times we graduate and we don't all work in our major, but most importantly, the simplicity of graduating and going to school is most important is to set a goal. You set the goal, you complete it, whether you follow through with it or not in the same major, but the most important is that you completed it. And that's how we see it.
Awesome. Awesome. I would love to do that. That sounds amazing. We have to collab because I feel like your mission and my mission align really well. So with that being said, how would you describe your mission? What is your mission?
Our mission is to give each individual an opportunity to fulfill their true desires within, right? And in that aspect, they can make the community a better place, right? Because we all have to live under the same umbrella, whether we're all from a different color or creed. And with that being said, the more interactions of other cultures and so on and so forth, the greater humanity can be as a whole. So it's ironic that, I have another alumni that stopped by who's one of our partners of the HBTC Learning Center, and it's Ludson. Ludson is actually one of the best tutors at Broward College for, I don't know, how many years, Ludson?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. And if you were learning math or algebra or anything of like that, statistics, Ludson was the man you needed to speak to. I owe him. Literally, I owe him because he made mathematics a lot more simple for me because I was out of school for 20 years and I didn't learn algebra, but I was able to see things in a different way and be able to put things together. And he was able to guide me in the most simplest way so I can be able to be an A student at Broward College. So yeah, I thank him and of course, Tiffany and all the other alumni at Broward College. We had a lot of good support, but you're good. You're only as good as the work you put in. If you don't put the work in, then you won't succeed no matter whether you went to Broward College or any college, and that's the beauty of that.
Yes. So shout out to Broward College for teaching us lessons. What lessons have you learned from this process of like setting up your organization and doing that really cool thing you were doing in that video? I watched it on Instagram the other day where you were handing out the food and like getting to know the people in the community. What have you learned from this whole process?
That whole process, giving back it's a real beauty, right? But more so, I've been doing it with the Alonzo Mourning Foundation for almost a decade right now, 9+ years, right? And it's in the city of Overtown Youth Center that I kind of grew up in that area for a short period of time throughout Miami. And like I said, I lead by example. So I'm just teaching Luna how to not be so self-consumed, that the world is bigger than her. And in today's climate with these children today, they don't have that. They're in a virtual world. Giving back is not really something they do. I'm sure there's a few parents out there that's doing it, but it's very seldom, right? So we wanted to make it a cool factor, right? Not just like, we're giving back, but cool people can do it too. You don't have to be like this super, somewhat outreach person, I'm so pristine and so on and so. No, it's for everyone and everyone can do it, It's okay to give back. It's actually a good feeling to recognize that there's more to life than just, hustle and bustle and making capital and, I don't know how to really put into words, but I think we all owe each other. We owe each other, a better environment to live in. And if I'm doing it and then Luna's doing it, I'm okay with that, And if she teaches her friends how to do it, great. We got another advocate to do it because, I think sometimes we're all lost and we're caught up in our feelings. Life is happening and, we all are somewhat going through some type of mental instability, right? You know, whether we're chasing our dreams, and, you know, being an entrepreneur is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a high level of grit to be able to follow through with that, right? And walking in a place where there's a lot of darkness with a very small beam of light at the end, right? And it's just something you just gotta keep going, because, you know, eventually if you keep going and going, you'll eventually get to that light, right? It's just like when you started at Broward College, right? Your first experience at school, right? It was like, oh my God, I don't know these professors, all these different language, whether it's Spanish, whether it's geometry, whether it's algebra, they're all teaching us different things. And there's a lot of uncertainty. We doubt ourselves in so many ways, but there's so many resources and so many people to help you if you would just get out of your comfort zone, right? Ask the hard questions, talk to people you're not accustomed to talking to. And then when you start doing these things, these networking and so on and so forth, and being part of these other communities, you start to realize it starts to get easier, right? Well, that's life in itself, right? It's not just at Broward College or whatever college you go to, but it's life in general. You know, we tend to put ourselves in boxes at a lot of times. And the truth of the matter is, life is not a box. It's really an open playground to play in. And that's the environment I create for Luna. That's the environment at HBTC Learning Center. And that's what Hustle Bees really is.
Awesome. And with that, I want to ask one last question, which is, where do you see Hustle Bees books or Hustle Bees in the next 3 to 5 years? Because of course it's going to just get bigger and bigger. You're going to touch even more and more people.
Yes. When we created it as an international brand, and we're officially a global brand. If you can see on the website, we have a language where we can be able to speak to anybody across the world or whatnot. So yes, we're here to make an impact. We're not going anywhere, and we got a lot more work to do. One person at a time. One person at a time.
One person at a time. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now it's Tiffany, right? I get to talk to one of my good old friends, Tiffany, and after, you know, where all this kind of spawned from.
Of course. So
how you doing, Miss Nelson? Miss Counselor of Colors.
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing great. Thank you guys. Thank everyone for coming. My name is Tiffany once again. And yeah, I'll kind of just let Kenzie ask the questions. I won't really try to go too far into it.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little background of Tiffany when I first met her. We're all sitting in the cafeteria, you know, fighting to get through school or whatnot. And all I knew at the time was Tiffany wanted to be a psychologist. At that time, it wasn't, you know, oh, I'm going to open my own business and so on and so forth. I thought it was just, you know, let's just get through this aspect, right? And then when she finally graduated and she left, you know, it was a crew of us. Some of them was accounting and some of them was heading to be judges and so on and so forth. It was a group of girls, you know. And as she's pursuing FSU or whatnot, I think right towards the end of you graduating is when you're like, I'm opening up my business and so on and so on. I was like, oh. So with that being said, while you was at FSU, when did the idea actually come up? When did you decide to follow through with Counseling of Colors?
Yeah, so Counselors of Color was actually an idea. Just the name Counselors of Color was an idea in my head from high school. And I never thought that I could start a business, you know, especially growing up as a Black woman in a Black household, especially for me, I was brought up in a single parent household. That just wasn't an idea. There was never start your own business. There was never become an entrepreneur. It was you're going to work for somebody. As a matter of fact, my mom wanted me to be a nurse. So being a psychologist was never something that was praised, much less talking about mental health in general. That wasn't something that we did in a household. So as I kind of went through life and stuff like that, if you guys are familiar, Broward College offers or has something called DECA, DECA, which is a way for students to become entrepreneurs. Honestly, once again, Councils of Color was just a name. I didn't put entrepreneurship and Councils of Color together. I just knew Councils of Color was catchy. So I never thought that I was going to start an organization whatsoever from that. So I went through Broward College. I was an honor student. I was in PTK. And I said, you know what? I took microeconomics and macroeconomics and then ended up getting signed up through DECA. And from there, it really just prepared me in order to, you know, become a better person overall as well. It prepared me to move forward. So that's when I said, you know, I really like this business thing. I'm pretty good at it. So let me just kind of go all in. So I ended up going all in from there. And like I said, my background was just, you know, child that was born in Miami. My mother, my father, both Jamaican. I was one of the only people that was born in America in my family. I'm actually first generation American. I would like to say Jamaican American. So in that aspect, it was just, you know, me also not being first generation college student and first generation American, but also first generation business owner. So just really breaking all of those cycles of being in the same wheel over and over again and just stepping out and becoming my own person. So I ended up starting Councils of Color in 2020. I had the idea for a very long time, but I actually started in 2020 of September and just moved forward with recruiting several different, you know, mental health providers and trying to move on forward to help the community in the same aspect, like, you know, Cammie and Kenzie was saying, was just helping the community and seeing what we can do and how we can better people. And as you see there too, just having these several partnerships. We partnered with Pessy, Obey Fitness, and a nutritionist that helps several individuals with disordered eating and eating disorders. And then for Pessy, it offers continuing education units for any psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health providers. So anyone that we recruit. And then Obey Fitness, you know, once COVID hit, everyone was pretty much home. No one really wanted to go to the gym. As a matter of fact, I barely want to go to a gym anyways. So just being home, I'm like, you know what, this is much more comfortable for me. So I know also, you know, mental health providers, they're always home or in an office. And in between time, that's when they take on that package that we partnered with Obey Fitness to offer those workout plans to mental health providers that sign up on our directory.
Nice. And at this point, when do you feel that Council of Colors are going to be like ready to take on its first clients and so on? So when do you project the time frame of being able to provide it to the community?
Yeah, so we run solely off of donations. I started Counselors of Color when I was, you know, in 2020, like I was saying, and I was selling the garments. We're making shirts, we're making sweaters, we're making hats, just to create revenue in order to start the business, because every business needs capital. But I mean, I'm a graduate student, really. We don't really have too much capital. So I was just like, you know what, let me see if I can implement something else to make us get the revenue and then turn that revenue into capital. And of course, you're like, you know, well, how did you get the revenue for the shirts? The revenue for the shirts was much easier to get than revenue for a whole 501c3 nonprofit organization. So I took that smaller, and that, I guess that kind of falls into Cammie, you know, with the financial literacy, because I was pulling two and two together. I was like, you know, it's a smaller amount of money or a minuscule actually compared to an organization just to sell sweaters, shirts, and hats. And people loved my logo, as you can see here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's a man and a woman with the heart and the brain. And people loved the logo. Everyone loved, you know, the mental health aspect of it. So it was really kind of, all right, well, we love mental health. We love how the shirts look, but can we kind of move forward past the shirts and talk about actual mental health and stuff, you know, and urging people to get help and to go to a therapist and etc. So we took the funds from the shirts and sweaters, started investing it into the business, and then kind of so on, using donations once the business was out there and we had our website, using donations to then move forward. So right now it's just really all about getting more donations. And then by then, hopefully 2023, we'll be able to start taking on clients.
I like that you've been able to like disclose how you've been able to create more funds for, you know, for your business in order to be able to provide, because a lot of times we get stagnated as entrepreneurs, right? Sometimes there's so many moving pieces, so many variables that we're trying to adhere to, and sometimes we get stuck, right?
Right.
And with that aspect, sometimes we gotta just work on the little things that we're able to do, whether it's, you know,
right.
coming up with the writing, or, you know, working on the logo, or some of the little things until other things start to pick up. So I really appreciate you kind of explaining that to people, because sometimes, a lot of times it just doesn't go the way we expect it. It never does, right? And as an entrepreneur, as a student, no matter what college you go to, you got to be flexible, right? And flexibility would allow you to push through in order to attain your dreams and you know, and your goals, because that's life in general. So thank you for saying that, because a lot of people would think, oh, entrepreneur is just a cakewalk, right? So for those who are listening, right, let me give you a little bit of information. For the first 5 years, when you open up your business, you have a 90% failure rate and a 10% chance of success. This is what you're facing as an entrepreneur. But if you prepare accordingly, you put a lot of pieces together and slowly push through, you'll succeed at all costs. Now, a lot of people will give up immediately. And this is why you got a high fail rate, right? But those who have put in the work and the research and knowing what they're going to provide to the world, it's easier for them to walk blindly in faith, right? When we decided to go to school, we didn't know we were going to succeed. We knew we wanted to win, right? We knew we needed to get that degree in order to be successful some form of way, right? There were some days that we cried. There's days that we possibly might have failed a test. But what we did was we get ourselves up and we kept pushing through, right? The goal was the most important. So the failures is actually the things that actually help us make us better as humans, right? Because if you fail enough times, guess what? You know, eventually you'll succeed. And that's really what I want everyone to grasp in this whole meeting and this panel, is that just never give up. Because if you don't get up, then what is the end result, right? What do you get for not pushing through? A fine stream of regrets. Oh, I wish I could have did this and I should have done that, or so on and so forth. Living a life of regrets will eventually derail you from all sorts of success, whether it's creating a family with someone, a partnership, or even your own goals within yourself. So with that being said, I urge everyone, just for your own sake of mental health, because we are walking into an era of mental health and it's finally being adhered to because nobody ever really addressed it. But these are the starts of your mental health by following through with your goals. So I say that to anybody who decides to be an entrepreneur or following through with your goals of being successful, at, you know, whether it's a job or not, is to never give up. You know, you sign an application, somebody tells you no, that's fine. Let's keep going until we get that yes. And that's it.
Right. And I completely agree with that 100%. Like what, you know, Kenzie was saying, there's several different hurdles that you have to overcome as an entrepreneur. And I know one of mine was really recruiting mental health providers. That was one of the hardest things. Was you would expect that, okay, everyone is going to support. You're going to find mental health providers. You're going to find supporters. You're going to find capital. But that was one of the biggest, and same with Cami, that was one of our biggest things, is just finding that capital, or finding supporters, or just finding brand representatives, just ambassadors, just about anyone to assist us with moving on. So I completely agree with Kenzie. Also, just business literacy. None of us, I'm sure, has ran a business before. So just learning as we go, and making sure that we're being compliant along with that. So making sure that, you prepare in time, as well as knowing what to do. And I always urge people, if you want to, and I put my information down in the chat, if you would like to learn more, I started my 501c3 nonprofit. I went through the IRS and everything on my own. I never hired anyone. So just making sure that I was compliant. I have several books. I did a lot of research. So if anyone is interested in starting a 501c3, or if you're interested in, helping me with my brand, donating, sitting on a board of directors, we do have several positions, whether that's a fundraising committee, whether that's a secretary or a vice president. We have board positions that are open. So if anyone would like to sit on our board as well, you can definitely send a text or phone call that number that I put in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Anthony, you're on mute.
And I would encourage you, Kenzie and Cami, also to drop into the chat how people can contact you. What's the best way? Is it by the web, phone, email? Just drop that information in there. While you're doing that, I'm just going to open up a couple of polls here, just find out what the audience is thinking. Let's launch the first poll. Have you ever thought about it, about running your own business? Yes or no?
Who is that directed to?
That's to the audience.
Okay.
We got 5. Good. 6 so far saying yes. 1 no. 8. So it's looking like a majority of people have thought about running their own business or nonprofit or another kind of venture.
Awesome.
Are there any entrepreneurs actually in the house with us tonight, aside from these 3 stellar alumni? Are there any entrepreneurs in the house? We've got another entrepreneur lurking, 2. That's great. So we do have a few other Broward College family alumni entrepreneurs attending tonight. Perhaps they have some questions for you or some comments, or can confirm some of the experiences that you have all had. I would love to hear from each of you about any kind of one definitive failure that you really learned from and that was influential in your progress, in your path.
I can definitely start on that. You said one failure, right, Anthony? That's what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I made a very costly failure, you guys. I think my failure cost me about $3,000. I know. It hurts me. Yeah. But I learned first, don't rush it trying to get it done. Let it take its time, let it be organic. I really, really wanted my book to be done immediately. I wanted instant gratification, and it just didn't work that way. And I just don't think it necessarily works that way. I think you have to take your time and continue to follow that passion and do so with wisdom. Not necessarily trying to do it like a TikTok. It's not a TikTok. It's not 15 seconds. It takes months, takes a lot of time. And so make sure everyone knows that. Just take your time and get it to how you want it to be. Don't stop until it's how you want it to be. Because even though it cost me $3,000, I still spent the additional money to make it right, because I didn't want to have a shabby book or half a dream. Who wants half a dream? You want the full thing. So yeah, take your time and make it how you want it to be, because that's how it's going to have to be.
Yeah, I would definitely have to jump alongside Cammie there. I mean, mine didn't necessarily cost me $3,000, but I would say that, I mean, I've had several failures. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, as an entrepreneur, you're going to fail probably once a week, but that failure is going to teach you moving forward. So I would say and I don't even think of everything as a failure, to be honest. I think of it as a learning lesson. But for me personally, I would say that my biggest learning lesson is to not trust everything with a business name on it, because businesses scam other businesses too. So with mine was, as you see here, I drew my own logo. So I was just like, I know what I want. I'm going to draw it. I know exactly what I want the website to look like. So I hired another business to do that for me. Obviously, as you can see, the logo came out great, but the website, and this was before the website that you can see now, the website, they made the website, they held the hosting from me, they held the domain name from me, they wanted it in their name, they didn't want to put it in everything. They did not want to put it in my name. They technically was trying to keep my business in their name because they liked how the business sounded. So they were just like, we really like your business. We love what it's doing and how it's going. But we don't want to put it in your name. So it was so much that I was then just freaking out. My mental health was then at risk. I needed a therapist that was on my directory. And I ended up, it was a lot of work, but I ended up really just, social media is a thing. When I tell you, really putting them on blast, explaining what they did, trying to speak, to a higher person, but a higher person was in another country. So it was just really hard to kind of go about that. But for me, I would just say I took that as a learning lesson. And now I say, I'm not hiring anyone to do something for me. I can do it myself. And I read books, I taught myself, I designed everything that I had to design, and pretty much everything that I have done now, or everything that you see now, is me. There is no extra person. It's pretty much me. If I had to get help, yes, I did seek help, but no one did it for me. They did it with me. And that's the one thing that I learned, as well as, going through the IRS, doing all of that by myself, trademarking, which Kenzie's really good at as well, doing trademarks by yourself. So all of that was pretty much just me having to learn. But I love that I learned that. And I don't love that I had that such, bad experience, but I love that experience helped me grow to find something else. So yeah, that's my big takeaway from that.
So can I chime in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So for those who fall under that situation like Tiffany did, right? There's a way to solve that challenge, right? You actually can go to what is it? On-site WordPress? What is it that we use? We use there's a few different hosting sites, but one of them is called SiteGrounds, right? So what you can do, you can obviously get your domain, right? You cannot have that all structured. That's the easy aspect. And then what you do when you're looking for somebody to help build that page for you, guess what you can do? You can give them signage to your site in order to build it for you. So if they're not being, if they don't come through with the work on time and so on and so forth, guess what? You can delete them and giving them access to your website. So now you don't have to worry about somebody's doing your work for you and not, and holding you, feet to, what is that saying? Feet to, I can't hear you, Anthony. What was it? You're on mute.
Holding your feet to the fire.
Yes, holding your feet to the fire. Yes. So instead you'll be able to have more control of that. So I advise people to, get a SiteGround. get your domain, set that up accordingly, right? Once you have that, then you can give somebody access with that skill set. You can vet them out. Ask them to send their resume, show their credentials, and once they do that, then you give them the passing to be able to utilize your website, to structure it, and so on and so forth. And God willing, things go according to plan. And if it doesn't, guess what? You can eliminate them and not have to feel hostage. So that's a way to do that.
Well, what would you say was your biggest trial though? Like, what would you say is one of the hardest things you had to overcome?
I'll give you an example right now, right? I was just talking to my partner, Tay, right? It's called Stay Fresh, right? Stay Fresh is strive to achieve excellence. That's his brand, right? And in that same essence, we partner up. So I was telling him and this is first to hear it. So you guys are going to be the first to hear it. And I usually do not do this, okay? Because everything is supposed to be a gift and a surprise to the community. So there is a way we want to be able to give individuals opportunities to create their own hustle bees, say whether it's a shirt or a hoodie, but to design the logo accordingly to the way you want it, right? You might like a lot of dark colors. Some people like a lot of vibrant colors, but you'll actually have that access to do that, right? So Tiffany, who provided one of her friends named Sumaya, that's her name? Okay, so Maya is she's a guru with creating websites. So we utilized her and I asked her to create, if you ever been on Nike.com, right? Or create Nike something. It's called what is it? Nike what? Where you can create your own sneaker? I think it's called Nike something, not
It's where you like customize your own apparel. Yes,
you can customize your own apparel. So it's a lot of moving pieces to make that happen. So Samaya wasn't able to do that. But fortunately for me, I have a handful of resources I can always reach out. I had to go through almost 6 different people in order to make it possible, right? So wherever she's strong, somebody else is weak, and wherever she's weak, somebody else is strong. So in that aspect, Lutzen himself, who's a creator, he's an app developer, he's a web developer. I mean, Lutzen is a genius in himself. He won't tell you that, but he is, right? He has an engineer mindset. So there's certain things he's building up in his craft in order to be great at what he does, right? So there's a trick to this, right? Because you don't have to know everything, but you do need to know how the things are moving, how they operate, right? And that same aspect, right? Because I was part of this honor society at FIU with Google. Google was its first cohort at FIU at any university, right? And it was for a year. I had to commit to it for a year. I had no computer background when it comes down to coding or nothing, okay? Luna does, and we provide that here at the Learning Center also. So I learned how to operate on the GPCU platform. So at least I know how the coding moves, how things are operated, and so on and so forth. So what we're doing, and this is a gem to those who are out here who are trying to create their own website. While you're having other people create certain codes and certain movement into your website, guess what happens? You actually have the key to the kingdom because it's on your web, in your background, in your site ground. You can actually take that code and reduplicate it because nothing is authentic for anyone. Somebody already has created. Most companies use it, some people don't, right? And you can take that code and utilize it for another website. So if there was somebody that graduated from this learning center, right, and wanted something unique for their brand, guess what? We can provide it, we can tweak that code and make it authentic to their brand. So it's kind of little tricks to the trade. You get what I'm saying? So I don't say you have to be, the guru of everything. But what I tell you is that you should know a little bit about everything in business, right? You might not be an accountant major, right? But we have accounting, I'm a business background. So I have I have those certificates in accounting, right? But there's somebody who's been doing it for 30, 40 years. They're specialists. You should utilize them. You can maybe, consolidate the work for them, create your debits, your credits, and your, what's the other one? It's called, I forgot the term. I didn't forget the term, but it's on the top of my mind. Credit accrue or something like that. And excuse me if I ruined that real quick. I got an accounting major here also. But in that aspect, you can actually make your job, you can make the work for your accountant a lot easier by setting up all this, and pre-prepping it. It's no different than what Tiffany did, right? She went and opened up the 501. Now, that is not easy. Most people get a lawyer to do that. Most people get a lawyer to do that because there's a lot of moving pieces in there. There's a lot of grammar that is not normal for your average citizen, right? And it's no different with when I did the intellectual property. The language on there is not easy to understand. But with the help of YouTube and a few other people that's been out there, you can take that little bit of help and do some trial and error. And
so it sounds like for you, Kenzie, it's a sort of a combination of, individual drive, learning, just being resourceful, but also the network. And I wonder if is that the experience for you too, Tiffany and Cami? I mean,
yes.
How important was a network for you? Or were you just so, focused and driven, you took it on yourself? It sounds like, Tiffany, you took a lot on yourself.
Yeah, I ended up taking pretty much a lot on myself and just kind of doing things and learning along the way. It wasn't really like I took it on to take it on. I took it on because it was a way to also learn. So I really feel like pretty much that's probably the same with Cami. Like you wanted to learn and not really have someone else do it for you.
Oh yeah, I definitely did a lot of the work, but I will say my entire team was network, the entire team. Actually, my illustrator, the person who did all these amazing images and everything, they are at Broward College as well. They are from Broward College. Yes, very talented. They actually work in the art museums and stuff. They're an art student at Broward College. And you see how much talent and potential they have. All you need is a cool project, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, my editor was even from university as well. So my entire team was like, oh, actually, my social media person was also from Broward College. What am I talking about? Almost my entire team is from Broward College.
I'm going to have to use that person, okay? We're really going to have to network after this.
We're going to talk.
Yeah.
We're going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
Yeah, Broward has so much talent.
Yeah, networking is a key factor to everything. But, they're younger entrepreneurs, right? And I was a little older than most, right? So because I had a background in business and I ran a construction company for 13 years, my experience is no different than what I'm going through now with Hustle Leads and the Learning Center. But what I've learned is that people are the main factor.
Right. And that should also prove to the crowd as well that it doesn't matter what age you are.
It doesn't.
You can start a business, you can be young, you can be in your 20s, you can be 13. Really, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can be 70s, in your 70s. It doesn't matter as long as you have, and I think the core thing with all of us is just having that network, and then that will be able to build you up.
Should also point out to people that, Tiffany, you're in the middle of your Masters of Science, and I know that, Cami, you started yours when you were, a student as well. So you have these other things going on. You have very full lives already, and yet, the focus is there to make this vision happen. Same with Kenzie. So,
but you know what? Having that drive is important, but having class is important. Having respect for another individual. When people see that in you, guess what? They're more willing to help you. So if you don't have that basic skill, yeah, you can have a dream and you can have an entrepreneur spirit, but I don't know if you're going to get all the help that you want. So remember to be kind. It costs you nothing to be kind to somebody. You never know when your blessing's going to come. It can be anybody. You don't know who it will be, but there's plenty of people out there that want to help people to be successful, but you got to be able to show love out there. You don't show no love, you can't receive it. That's that's the universe in itself. That's science in its own right, right? Like if whatever you put out there, you'll get back in return. That's karma. You can call it what you want to call it. You can call it the universe. You can call it God. But if you don't put out good energy, it's very challenging for you to get the same energy back in return.
Well, I want to thank each of you for, you know, giving tonight, for sharing your love of Broward College and for staying connected and, you know, making this possible. If the audience don't have any questions, I just want to, what do we have going on? You guys are an inspiration. It was great hearing about your business and stories. Thank you, Julian.
That's so sweet.
I just want to remind everyone who's on the call and watching is that we do have an opportunity for all of us who are in South Florida anyway to get together on April the 8th. We haven't had this opportunity in a long time, but this is going to be the entire Broward College family. So alumni, friends, supporters, students, staff, we're going to get together at the FLA Live Arena to cheer on the Panthers, but also just to connect together. And there's going to be some fun things happening there. That's April the 8th. You can find out about how to register for that by going to alumni.broward.edu and click on events and volunteer opportunities to register. And again, I'm just reminding you all, we want to hear from you. Let us know how you're doing, share your news. Please stay connected on LinkedIn. We'd love to trumpet your successes and anything else you want to share. So alumni@broward.edu or classnotes@broward.edu. Thank you very much. I want to respect everyone's time. It's almost 7 o'clock. We'll be circulating an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of this video, along with the contact details for Tiffany, Cami, and Kenzie. And this is only the beginning. This is the first webinar of its kind, and see sort of the power of networking and, you know, coming together as alumni and sharing your stories with others. It's really powerful. So thank you all.
Thank you everyone for attending, and if you need us, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help in any way possible.
Right. I just dropped our website in there. So if you guys, you know, we haven't really gotten that SEO yet, but we will. So definitely you'll see if you visit our website. If you know any mental health providers of color, please let them know that they can register on our website. If you have any friends, anyone like that, you know, please, whether it's a psychologist, psychiatrist, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, anyone of color that's in the mental health field, they can go on that website, register. And if you want to get involved, you can also message me, send a text message and get involved. And don't forget to donate to a nonprofit organization.
Okay. Pleasure meeting you all, Cami. Anthony, thank you for putting this together. This was awesome. I'm happy.
My pleasure. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.